Hey guys, I am ready to share this story of what happened to me over the course of mid-March to mid-April in 2024, because it was the most profound awakening yet. And honestly, it broke my mind open in the best of ways. It broke my mind open from trying to hold on to the way things were. And yeah, it did. It was scary. It was a lot, because I realized through these experiences how much control I have over my reality by having the internal state of knowing who I am and knowing that anything that aligns with my heart truly is for me, and I can choose it. I can choose it and I can allow it to unfold. These experiences helped me to realize reality creation and that I truly am the creator of my reality. And now I would like to share these experiences. So on March 15th, the night of March 15th, I decided to do a heroic dose of psilocybin mushrooms. And let me start off by saying I prepared for over a year for this. I knew I wanted to do it. I knew I needed to become educated in it, and I did practice with smaller doses to sort of get used to kind of what to expect. And I had some nervousness about it. My mind was very much programmed into the way things had been, and was afraid to really dive into everything that we had been learning. And we, I mean me and my mind, I guess. But everything I've been learning for the last couple of years since my spiritual awakening journey began, diving into consciousness and reality creation and the I am presence, becoming the higher self, all of these things. It took a while to really ingrain, like the ideas and everything really resonated with me, but as far as sharing it with others, the people around me were very hesitant. And I realized that within me was definitely a strong skeptic, because that's what I had known. I grew up Catholic and was very, devout in my faith for the first 18 years of my life. It was all I knew. And I started to question all of that when I was around 18 years old, because I saw the corruption and the contradictions and the hypocrisy from Christians and in the church, and not all of them, of course, but a lot of things, and especially with the way that the Catholic Church has been throughout history and what it's still hiding from us today. But I started to question things more because I couldn't believe in that God that they push, the God that doesn't love unconditionally. It never sat right with me. My whole life I've loved unconditionally. It's just been part of who I am. It's it's ingrained in my soul. It's part of who I'm meant to be here. And truly I really don't believe I was meant for the way the world was. I'm very much meant for the way the world will be. And I have strong faith in that. But so a heroic dose of mushrooms is, according to Terence McKenna, who's kind of like, I don't know, the godfather of mushroom experience. I don't know. He's he's just one of the most respected people when it comes to mushrooms and experiences and consciousness in that way. And he says a heroic dose is 5 grams for like a 190-pound male. I ended up taking 6 grams because I'm a little bit bigger. So I wanted to make sure I got the full effect of it, right? And so I had an opportunity where my family was going to be out of town. I wanted to do this alone. I wanted to be totally alone. Well, my dog was with me, but totally alone from other co-creators. I started out in pitch darkness. I started at 10 o'clock at night. It was already dark outside. Pitch darkness in the basement by myself, in silence. And I very much started out just meditating and praying. I actually started out using, I have some higher self oracle cards, and so I drew a couple of cards. And the first one was fear. And it definitely let me know, like, hey, there's gonna be fear. There's fear right now going into it, because I know that, I'm not a very visual person. I know that I'm going to have experiences that are going to kind of break open this mind's idea of what reality is, and to see how fluid it really is. And the other card I drew was worthiness. And that one really hit home because I realized it was going to be a very profound experience before it had even happened. And so I took the mushrooms and I went and I laid down and I laid there and I was meditating and praying for about an hour. I was starting to slowly feel more and more changes within me, changes to the state of consciousness, going a little bit deeper, a little bit deeper, a little bit deeper. And then at about around the 90-minute mark or so, it really started to kick in, and I started to see patterns in sacred geometry and all that stuff that they talk about seeing. But really what happened was there was a profound silence in me. And I started to really see the separation between myself and the mind, between my true self, my soul, my consciousness, my higher self, and the body, the mind, identity, what you might call the ego. And that part went totally silent, and it was just me. Just me. And I started having a conversation with myself. And it went from a very serious nature at first, like very serious, very stoic maybe, to happy, joyful, curious, wonderment. Is that a word? I don't know. But and so after talking with myself and having just like a really nice little experience there, I went and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna turn on the light and see what I see and experience what I experience, because I realized this was going to be a profound experience with myself. It wasn't about going anywhere else. It wasn't about astral traveling or being out in space or turning everything upside down or whatever. It wasn't about that. It was about me learning to love myself, And so I turned on the light and, I went and looked in the mirror, which some say is a portal to another version of yourself. But when I looked in the mirror, I saw me. And I saw me through my higher self's eyes. And for the first time, I saw a beauty in me, both inside and out. And, I used to have such deep self-image issues, a wound passed down, and I never really knew how to heal that. But this time I finally just looked at myself and I saw myself in And I didn't see myself as any different than anything. I just saw myself with love and acceptance, you know? And I saw how much I really did love myself and how distorted the mind makes things, how truly distorted it is when you have beliefs that are like, feel like they're ingrained in you and you've believed them for so long, and there's so much charge to them that you can't see anything else but what you've always seen, even if it's not what others see. And you know, I just stared at myself and spoke with myself and said loving things to myself, and I was raising up higher and higher and higher and higher in vibration. And the strange thing is, as I reached the peak of this experience, which I would say is the highest vibration I've ever experienced in my entire life, I felt more myself, totally comfortable within myself and in love with myself and life than ever before. It was incredible. It was amazing. And I started to really have fun just being with me and loving me. And I started to have conversations with myself and talk about what life has been and what life is, and what I want it to be. And I connected with the energy of a divine counterpart, and there was just so much love. And I kid you not, there were a couple of times where something just struck a chord, and there was such a powerful emotion. And because I was just so in tune with myself and there was no holding back, I just let out noises that I didn't even know I could make. The only way I could describe them is almost harmonic, almost angelic in a way. Like there was no restriction on the vocal cords, no restriction in the throat chakra. All of it was just coming out, and it was a strange kind of almost wailing, but beautiful. It was strange, but amazing at the same time. And then I saw my dog in her highest form. She looked like she was like 6 months old, like pristine, glistening fur, like it almost looked feather-like. It was like beautiful. It was glimmering. It was, you know, and she was so cooperative to it. And I've had a feeling for a while that Aria, my dog, is sort of a guide of mine, or you know, another part of me, an extension of me. And she was just totally cooperative to all of it. She was there for me, and she would be there for me later when things, you know, eventually went down. But before that happened, I just admired and appreciated her and loved on her, and spent time with her. And the interesting thing is, while I was up at this amazing high vibration, reality started to shift before my eyes, and I could perceive of it. And it was as if in one moment things would be organized the way that I thought they were, knew they were. And then in the next moment, they would be in a different way. Like as if I was seeing the shifts in parallel realities of different possible versions of what's going on just in my little world down here in the basement. And it was even interesting. At one moment, Aria was on the couch, and the very next moment, she's laying on the floor in front of me as if nothing happened, as if like she was always there. You know, it's like I was seeing how we really are in an infinite number of parallel realities, and the way that we choose to perceive things consciously makes a difference. But our belief is so strong. But when you have access to the subconscious mind and the ego or that programming isn't in the way, it really is a lot more wiggly. As Alan Watts says, is life is more wiggly and not so fixed like the mind has been trained and programmed to think. out of fear, out of separation, out of all that. And this just, I mean, it was amazing. There was a moment where I was drinking water out of a water bottle and it was low, and I just consciously shifted to a parallel reality where there was more water in the bottle. It was just natural. It wasn't like I even had to really think about it. It was just like I wanted more water and it was there. It's like you always have what you need, but shifting to those things and breaking the mind's perception and grasp and hold of what is difficult. And it takes time and it takes a lot of work, and things like plant medicine can be very helpful in breaking that perception. And it's not that I have now the ability to just do that willy-nilly whenever I want to. No, but I haven't quite broken the mind entirely in that way. But it definitely just showed me, and the amazing thing is I was totally conscious and aware for all of this. I remember it so vividly. It wasn't like getting high and like zoning out or whatever, like only having little bits. Like I remember so much of it, and it was so vivid and so profound and powerful. And it truly did feel like who I was. Like before this, I had an energy reading from someone I trust, and they said I had like 3 or 4 spirit guides working with me at the time. After this, I went to an energy share, and they said I had like a whole choir of angel guides with me. And it's like such a profound change happened from this experience within myself, because I realized how real everything was that I had been learning. Like I very much believed it, but I didn't know it. I hadn't experienced it. And finally, this was the opportunity to experience it. Now, this was all beautiful and wonderful, and life-changing, absolutely. But one of the principles of reality is the rhythm of vibration, the principle of rhythm. There is a principle of vibration as well. The principle of rhythm, which I believe is the 5th hermetic principle. Everything ebbs and flows. As far left as the pendulum swings, it must swing just as far to the right. And so, as far up as you go in vibration, you must go just as far down. And that is not fun, necessarily, when you've gone up to the highest vibration you've ever experienced, because that meant I was also going to experience the lowest vibration I had ever experienced. But I was not mentally prepared for it, but I was prepared for it in soul. And so after all these amazing experiences, there was suddenly, it was almost as if there was like a shift, and maybe there's like a brief moment where I wasn't really sure where I was. Like maybe I blacked out for just a moment, not blacking out as in like drunk passing out, that type of thing, but more like my consciousness went somewhere else and then came back. And as it came back at a moment where I was going down into that low vibration, and I started to feel nauseous and had to go to the bathroom very badly. And so I went and started to go upstairs, and I was entering this low vibration, and the mind was not liking it, because as I was going up the stairs, it was as if the stairs were closing in around me, and it's dark, the light's not on, and it feels like the darkness and this staircase is like closing in around me. But I just kept going. I pushed through, went through the door, went up to the bathroom. And this is a part where it was more jumbled. My mind started to get stuck in what I would call a fear loop. It kept recycling the same thoughts over and over. And for some reason, it had to do with time running out, or the idea, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this. This has to get done. I have to go here. I have to be there. I have to do this. What time is it? What time is it? And it was like the mind couldn't slow down or snap out of it. And every so often, it was weird, because it was as if I was observing it and experiencing it at the same time. But I wasn't like lost in fear. I was more just aware that fear was present. and I was more aware of what the mind was doing, but it's sort of like I was allowing it to. And then at certain moments I was like, no, I need to stop this. I need to put an end to this. And but yeah, while I was sitting up there in the bathroom, it was as if different, the shape and the perspective of everything was shifting around me. The bathroom counter, my legs, my body parts being different. Sometimes my awareness is up here, sometimes my awareness is down here. It was so strange, and it seriously felt like I was dying. And perhaps it certainly was an ego death of sorts, a pretty massive one. But I can only describe it as what it might felt like if someone's going insane and dying after having lived a life not worth living. Like, it felt so sad, so depressing, tragic almost. And I thought of people who I've known who lived lives like that, and I thought of how many I don't know who have lived lives like that, and it scared me. And my perception of time at this point was like totally gone. In fact, I started to look at the phone in one of these moments while I was in the bathroom, and at one moment it would be like 2:30 in the morning. At one moment it'd be like 1:45 in the morning. At one moment it'd be 2:15. It's like it kept bouncing back and forth, like time didn't exist anymore. Even weird things like one moment my pants were on the floor, one moment my pants are on, one moment the pants are on the floor. Like, I put the pants on and then the next moment they're off again. I'm like, what is happening? It is not okay. And so I kept like, eventually, like, consciously I would be like, okay, I need to stop this. I need to put an end to this. And so I would like go back downstairs, but then immediately pretty much I have to go back up and go back to the bathroom. It's like, and the mind gets stuck in this loop again. And finally I was like, I have had enough of allowing this to go on. I have experienced this, and I need to put my reality back together. And that is when I actually consciously started to piece my reality back together by choosing to do so. And so I left the bathroom, put on my pants, went into the kitchen, and I decided, you know what? It's 3:00 on March 16th, the morning of March 16th, 3 a.m, and I am here, and I am good, and I am in my body still, and everything's fine. I am here. And so I go into the kitchen, and it's 3:07, and I didn't really know what time it was. I just decided it's 3:00, and then it was. And and it's interesting because 3:07 is, take out the 0, it's 37, and that's been a significant number for me for a while. So that was interesting. And then I noticed my pants were on the ground again. Never took them off. I don't know, or at least I don't remember it. But I was like, nope, pants are on, and they're staying on. I'm on, pants are on. It's 3 a.m, Saturday morning, March 16th. I know where I am. I had to like give time back to the mind and like in this linear fashion and let it know like, hey, it's okay. And so I just sort of stood there, and then I realized I was feeling out of body still, like not totally connected with my body. And so I went to the sink, and I just ran cold water, and I just reconnected with my hands and felt the cold water and realized I was sweating profusely a lot, and I was cold, but I was sweating, but I was hot at the same time. It was very strange. And so I washed my face off, just connected with my body, felt myself again, and slowly things started to stabilize, and time seemed to be moving linear again. I looked back, and it was like 3:14 pi. That's another interesting number, of course, in the universe. Very important number. But yeah, 314. It was and I probably stood there for like 10 minutes just letting the cold water run over my hands, connecting with my body, reassuring the mind that everything's okay, that it is going to be all right. Because part of the fear it felt like when time wasn't linear anymore and I was stuck in that fear loop, I kept trying to think of what it felt like to even have a life or to even have a past or for a duration of time that felt slowed down and drawn out and experienced. It felt impossible. It felt like, was any of it real? Was any of this real? Am I real? You know, like it was very uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. And if I had not prepared for all of this, I know it wouldn't have happened, you know, and it certainly, I could see how it could break people. It could really break people because it does show you, these experiences can show you what reality is really like. And if you're not prepared and you don't know, if you don't really know discernment, know that fear never has to be your truth. Know that you could choose love all the time, that reality is loving. If you don't really know that, then you can descend into fear, especially as you go down in vibration after being way up in vibration. And it can break people. And it has. And people have gone into mental institutions and all these things and never been the same after that, you know, always been a little having their perception totally distorted, but not in a way that benefits them or elevates them or progresses them in their experience, in their life experience. Sometimes they just get stuck in that fear. And so this is something that needs to be honored and done with reverence and preparation. And in fact, you know, unless you're crazy like me, I really do suggest having a guide to help you through these experiences. But after this, it's like, so reality had finally stabilized. Things weren't moving, shifting. My awareness was staying here, you know, pants were staying on. Time was moving normal again for the most part. It felt slow, but that's just because I was at this very low vibration. But while at this low vibration and while everything stabilized, I was at this low vibration and I stayed there for a while, like in this valley. And it felt like, you know, kind of like a valley of death. I felt cold. I felt kind of lifeless. I couldn't really feel my warmth. I couldn't really feel my heart. And that scared me. But it was almost like an apathetic scared. It was strange. And then fear started to creep into the mind again, like, oh, what if I overdosed? And I don't think you can actually overdose on mushrooms. I'm not sure. I guess you probably could, but you'd probably have to take a crazy amount. But I knew what I took was safe. That said, because I felt so lifeless and couldn't really feel myself, like nothing even felt like touching things didn't feel normal. Like I said, my body felt lifeless. And I would end up staying there for like an hour and a half of just this lifeless feeling. And so those fears did creep up. Those doubts did start to creep up. Like, am I in hell? Did I accidentally end myself? Like, did something happen? You know? And those were the thoughts the mind was having. And I kept trying to reassure myself, like, no, everything's okay. But after like an hour, of things being stable and stuff, I was like, I don't know what to do at this point. You know, are things going to change? Is it going to get back to normal? And I ended up going for a drive because I was like, well, if I am dead, I'm going for a drive because I'm not going to stay in this house anymore. And so I actually the dogs were still there. Like, the mind was a little delulu, you know? But I ended up taking my dog because I didn't want to be alone, and we went for a drive. And I know it's probably not the most responsible thing, but reality had stabilized. I was fine. But I realized I needed like to connect with someone. I needed to try and connect with someone. It was so strange being at this low vibration. Like, I went out and there was like, you know, and it's like 4:30 in the morning. There's like cars like pulled over on the side of the road with their hazards on. Everything seems darker. Everything seems deteriorated to a certain degree. It just seems kind of like, yeah, like kind of lifeless. Like it was a reflection of what I was feeling, right? What I was perceiving and what I was seeing. And even when I saw myself in the mirror, I looked deteriorated, uh, disheveled, you know, and again, a reflection of how I'm feeling at that moment. And I started to go down the road, and there were other cars out and stuff, a couple here and there, but it was just so strange, so strange. And I needed to talk to someone because I was just like, am I still here? What reality am I in? What reality did I shift to? I don't know what's going on, you know, because I've never been through this experience. And I ended up calling my mom because I know she keeps her ringer on in case any emergencies happen. I'm always telling her, hey, you know, you don't have to do that. Like, you know, have your sleep interrupted by notifications and stuff like that or whatever. But that's who she is. She worries and she's always concerned. But in this case, that ended up being very good for me because I needed someone, and I was very grateful to know that she would answer if I called, and she did. And again, I'm in a weird state. All right, a very low vibration. The mind is not sure what's going on. And so I just said to her, Mom, I think I died. And she's like, Brian, you're talking to me. You're not dead. And I was like, in my mind was like, what if this is just a projection of my consciousness? What if she's not even real? What if she's not even talking to me? What if you're just hearing things? And I'm like, no, I think I killed myself. Like, and I was saying it so matter of factly because I didn't know how else to. I didn't have any other warmth or feeling in me. It was just so apathetic and so blunt. And she's like, don't say that to me. Like, and I was like, yeah, you're right. I probably should have planned this out a little bit better. And she's like, where are you? And I was like, I'm driving. She's like, did you take something? I'm like, I had some mushrooms earlier. And she's like, you need to go home. Why? You need to go home and take care of the dogs. And I was like, yeah, you're probably right. All right, I'll go back home. And I was just like, thank you, and I'm sorry. And for some reason, it didn't feel right to go straight home still. Like, I was still like, I didn't want to be in the house. I wanted to be outside. And so I was driving a little bit, and a couple minutes later, my sister calls me because my mom called my sister. And my parents were out of town. My family was out of town for this, but my sister was at home with her husband and kids, of course. And so she called me. She's like, hey, you all right? And I'm like, I don't know. Can I come over? And so I went over, and it was even weird driving around at that low vibration. Like, the spacing of everything, the buildings, the roads, everything looked different. It felt like things were different. It was so strange. Like, I wasn't quite back in the reality that I knew, you know? It was very strange. But I eventually made my way to the house. And went, you know, and as I was like walking up the stairs, that's when the warmth started to come back. And I realized coming into that environment, they're warm, they're loving, they're amazing people. I love my sister and brother-in-law. They're super high vibrational people, really good people. And just that warmth of being in that household with them and coming up to them and seeing them and being able to talk to them and hug them, it was like all that warmth, all that feeling just came back, and finally, and then they let me talk about my experience, and it was very cathartic and therapeutic. And they gave me some tea, which is really nice to have some warm tea because I had been cold for like a couple hours there. Just cold, like no warmth in my body because I was at a low vibration. That's what the cold is low vibration. Heat is high vibration. And so I just warmed up and was able to talk about it, and they were able to just listen to me, and it was really kind of them. It was like 5 a.m, you know, when I got there, and they listened to me for like an hour until I was ready to finally go back home. And then I had the realization of what I went through, and it was this huge pendulum swing of vibration and emotion and and really understanding the depths of the human experience, how high of a vibration you can go to and how low of a vibration you can go to, and in such a short amount of time, and how the state of your vibration changes the way you perceive and see everything. At a very high vibration, it does feel like heaven on earth. At a very low vibration, it does feel like hell on earth. And that's why heaven and hell really are states of being that we have access to within ourselves. And when people go into low vibrations and they stay there for years, their life becomes hell. They live in misery and suffering. And they don't realize it's because of their vibration. It's because of the way they're perceiving everything. It even includes the people they attract. So they think everybody's this way because all the people they attract are low vibrational. They're reflections of who they're being. As opposed to being at a very high vibration, you would attract very high vibrational people. And it's like two totally different realities, many different realities, all within a collective reality. Realizing you have your own reality, you have your own perception. You could sit in a room with 100 people. There's 100 different rooms that people are experiencing. It's totally different for everyone depending on where they are at individually. And that's the beauty of the way reality is created and designed, is that collectively we get to experience each other and have the idea, the semblance of a co-created reality. And yet at the same time, we have our own personal reality that we get to create and experience for ourselves. And how beautiful is that? It's terrifying, but also really beautiful and perfect. It's really only terrifying to the mind that's programmed to think things are a certain way, to think everyone's seeing the same thing, that if we're all in the same room, we're all seeing the same thing, but we're not. We are not. It's only if we were at the same vibration that we would be perceiving things at a similar level. And that's why some people resonate with you and some people don't, because they are not seeing the same thing you are seeing and you are not seeing the same thing they are seeing. And yet when you resonate with someone, you see things the same way in those moments, in those times together. And that's why finding someone who's at a similar core frequency of you, such as a divine counterpart, who might have the same core frequency as you, can result in such a beautiful relationship. It's because you see things so similarly. Even though you're individuals, even though you still have your own different realities, you still see things the same way. Or when you have a thought and a realization, they can understand it and they can see it. As where you talk about it with someone who's at a lower vibration, if you have a higher vibrational thought or idea and you talk about it with someone with a lower vibration, they see it totally differently and they don't see your vision, you know? They don't see you. They don't understand you because they're at their place and you're at your place. And it's not like one's superior or inferior. We're all at a different part of the journey. It's just, this is it. And the interesting thing is, I've been very connected to Atlantis, ancient Egypt. I have just strong soul and heart connections with those times, even ancient Greece and stuff like that. And I've been very connected with Thoth, who's very connected with ancient Egypt and ancient Atlantis and Greece as well. And I had a dream last October where Thoth, I was in like, it looked like an Egyptian chamber of some sort. For some reason, I intuitively thought maybe it's underneath the Sphinx. I don't know. That is just a thought I had. I don't know for sure though. But he handed me a pendulum, like, you know, like a chain with a pendulum crystal, and he handed it to me. And then I woke up. And I didn't really know what that meant until this experience back in March, where I went through that pendulum swing of vibration. And even though I have read much of the Kabbalion and studied a lot of the Hermetic principles and stuff like that, to actually experience it in such a powerful, profound way, completely changed my understanding and made reality creation not just a belief and not just faith, but a knowing within myself. And that propelled me down a journey. The next few weeks, especially leading up into eclipse season, became very magical and powerful, and I was having very profound experiences with other people, with myself. The eclipse was very profound. I had an alignment activation reading a couple days after the eclipse on April 10th, and in this reading, that this person is extremely high, a very high frequency person, and very connected, and she was able to basically listen in on a conversation between her higher self and my higher self, and told me so many things, confirmed so many things that really I knew deep down, but I struggled to believe and trust. And this was so profound, and just reminded me, like, it gave me confirmation that I am an expanded soul. I am here for New Earth. I am here to help build that. And I don't need to be afraid anymore of acknowledging and being who I am. I don't need to be afraid of that anymore. I don't need to hold on to the way things were. I don't need to view myself in the way I used to view myself. I can let all of that go and understand that everything happened just so that I could learn and grow and become who I need to be today. And I am grateful for it, all of it. The entire journey, my entire life up to now, was so that I could get to this point, so I could share this story, so I could be who I'm meant to be, and live a life that I'm excited to live. Because it's nice to think, oh, I'm an earth angel, or I'm an alchemist, or like all these cool things, or I think I'm connected to Thoth and all this stuff. And sure, all of it can be true. Why? Because you're creating your reality, and what resonates with your heart is what resonates with your soul and your soul blueprint, your soul template of who you're meant to be here in this life, what you're meant to experience. So don't let other people, or the fear of what other people will think, stop you from really embracing who you are. I am committed to being who I am, to making my dreams come true, to never giving up on myself again. And so I'm ready to tell this story, and I'm grateful that I am now. And I'm also excited to share a new service that I just downloaded last night that I am very excited to offer. And it is a service where I will come to you. If you are on your awakening journey, if you want to remember who you are, if you want to learn to embody your higher self, commit to your highest timeline, learn how to heal, learn how to do shadow work, and if you need someone to be there to hold emotional space for you so that you can go through these things, someone who's been to the depths of themselves, and I have. I'm offering a service where I will come to you and stay with you if we have a good connection and we vibe. And if you watched this whole video and got to this point, it's possible you vibe with my message and who I am. And if you're interested in really diving into your healing, I'm offering this service where I'll come to you for a few days, maybe 5 days. I have a video in the description talking a lot more about that, going in detail on that and what I have to offer, and what this can really do for you in a very short amount of time, to give you clarity, to give you direction, to give you confidence, to continue on your journey, your awakening journey. It is a series of awakenings, a series of ego deaths, and you will find your purpose when you know yourself, when you are confident in yourself, when you feel like you are your authentic self. So if you want more info on that, again, link is in the description below. Much love to all of you. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for watching this. Thank you for hearing this story. And yeah, I love you so much. I'm so grateful that you're here. This is gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun time here on Earth. I'm really excited to be here.